Good morning. It is 9:03 on this Tuesday, the 25th of March. Welcome to the Weather Desk. I'm 13 News Now meteorologist Craig Moeller, and from the 13 News Now studios, you found us here on the 13 News Now Plus app. Each day at around 9 o'clock, we do an edition of the Weather Desk. We do it live every morning, and it's today's top weather headlines from across our region, which serves southeast Virginia and northeast North Carolina, throughout the mid-Atlantic, and really around the country. And in many cases, we take a look at top weather headlines from around the world. That's the case today. We're also going to be exploring not only weather impacting us here, but a couple interesting bits from other parts of the globe. So we'll be talking about all that. Let's get into our weather headlines, some of the topics that we'll be tackling today. We have wildfires. We've got an update for you. Several here in the region. Now, I've mentioned that down in North Carolina, South Carolina, there have been wildfires. There's a bunch back in Oklahoma. We'll talk about where that smoke is going. So domestic wildfires and some international. There are a couple other countries that are being impacted. And in fact, one wildfire in another part of the world becoming deadly. So we'll talk more about that. Also, we have an update on the cherry blossoms. I know we've been talking a lot about this over the last week or so, but we're basically reaching peak bloom now in D.C. And we've got an update on what you can expect, some live pictures we're going to share with you. I think you'll really get a kick out of seeing that. What you won't be so happy to see if you're living here in Hampton Roads or in the Mid-Atlantic, we are starting to see extreme tree pollen. Certainly here in the 757. That's our area code here in southeast Virginia. And across parts of the Mid-Atlantic, that tree pollen is really, really bad right now. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And then we're going to get into the possibility of late season snow. How common is it? Well, we take a look. I'll let you know what's coming up next. So some interesting topics to tackle. We're going to start off, though, talking about the wildfires, and we're going to focus on what's happening across North Carolina. But you can see, there's one in central Virginia. We've got several in West Virginia, some isolated wildfires out across Tennessee, down across parts of the Deep South, a whole bunch here in eastern Oklahoma, and that's creating some issues with the smoke kind of wafting off to the east right now. But we're going to talk about where the models will carry that. Still a few spotty wildfires out west and down across Texas. So plenty to talk about. But we're going to start off coming back into North Carolina and the Fishhook fire. It's now nearly 70% contained. It's burning around 200 acres. It's burned about 200 so far and has destroyed 3 homes. The Deep Woods fire is still not contained at all, 0% contained, burning nearly 2,000 acres. That is a big one. And finally, Black Cove fire is also 0% contained. It's been burning out of control. That was the update yesterday. Nothing has really changed here. We've got more than 1,200 acres ablaze. So same area still recovering from Hurricane Helene. And now many residents are voicing concerns about their neighbors.
We live in a rural area, and so not everybody has internet here or even has great cell service.
We've got friends that are evacuating their homes in Lake Adger area because the fire's right on their heels, and they're coming here to stay at our home.
Yeah, it's tough as those folks are dealing not only with the wildfires, but again, some areas still dealing with the cleanup from Hurricane Helene last year. And that has impeded first responders from getting there to help access some of the areas. There are still some bridges and roadways that are washed out. Now, first responders from across the country, Alabama, Oregon, Michigan, Tennessee, they are on the ground and they are helping to get things under control. A little farther south, firefighters are also battling wildfires down in Greenville, South Carolina. National Guard is now helping put out the Table Rock Complex fire, dropping water on the flames by helicopter. That fire now spans 3 square miles, so it continues to be a big issue. Let's come back to the maps here and talk a little bit about some of these fires that we've just been mentioning. And again, you don't see the big smoke issue. Yesterday, we were tracking plumes specifically blowing off of these. It's a little more intense. I think the wind patterns changed up a little bit. I did mention, though, all the fires back in Oklahoma, and as we pick up our forecast here. And again, this is one of the models handling the wildfire smoke. You'll notice the smoke really still out over western North Carolina. There's going to be some air quality issues here in the mountains, not far from Asheville, impacting those areas again, hit so hard by Helene. So now they're dealing with the wildfire smoke. This fire here, this complex of fires, I should say, in central and eastern Oklahoma, though, a lot of smoke here. You can see how that's going to blow west for a little while, and then it's actually going to come back around to the north. So I think parts of Kansas are really going to be impacted heavily, northern Oklahoma into Kansas, and eventually maybe back over towards Wichita a little bit. They may be dealing with some of that smoke as well. That's through the day today, and then again into tomorrow and tomorrow evening. We don't have any major plumes coming off of this stuff right here, but just know that we will be watching the winds across our area. I think there is a chance, at least for a little while, some of that smoke could find its way into the southern part of the Virginia Piedmont. But then as the winds shift around to the northwest, you may be smelling smoke if you're down in southern parts of North Carolina, certainly the Charlottesville, or the Charlotte area rather, and then down into South Carolina, some smoke down that way as well. But this really poor air quality and dense smoke across central Kansas, that's going to be a concern for tomorrow. Now, I mentioned it's not just here in the United States. We're going to go ahead and zoom over. We'll spin the globe and head over to Japan and South Korea. We'll take a look here. These folks also dealing with wildfires. Crews in Japan and South Korea are working to get flames under control. More than 1,000 people were forced to evacuate southwestern Japan. That's about 2 hours south of Hiroshima. And after wildfires destroyed 6 homes there in South Korea, wildfires have turned deadly. So the flames have scorched more than 36,000 acres, killing 4 people and injuring 11 others. 150 buildings have been destroyed. So again, wildfires, we cover them so extensively here in the United States, but obviously there are some issues overseas as well. So we'll continue to watch how things go in Japan and in South Korea. Now we're going to take a look while we're overseas and check out over around Greece. And we actually have some good news, and we're going to focus in on this little island right here, okay? This is Santorini. So cruise season is officially back underway in Greece. Check it out. Over the weekend, Santorini welcomed its first cruise ship of the season. This comes after the island experienced waves of earthquakes in February, forcing people to evacuate and cruise ships to divert to other islands. Greece sits on multiple fault lines and is often rattled by earthquakes. So a little scary there when they get a lot of activity and they have to reroute visitors there. They love that tourism. And again, Santorini back open for business. And it's good to know. A lot of folks enjoying time over in Greece. All right, we're coming back to the United States, and we're going to take a look specifically in the D.C. area. We've had so much fun taking a look at what's going on in the D.C. area, and we're keeping a close eye to the cherry blossoms. You can see this is one live look up in D.C. The blossoms along the water here really starting to come in. We've got one of our sister stations in Tegna has had multiple folks out covering the cherry blossoms. I was watching one of the meteorologists up there saying they're basically to stage 5 and they're just about reaching peak right now. So we are keeping an eye on the cherry blossoms up in D.C. We can again show you the live look from the tidal basin right now. Here's another view. And again, this is beautiful. It's an earth cam. And if you look closely, you can see some of those trees blooming. The peak bloom is really coming over the next day or so, and it is going to continue for the next week or two. That's typically how this works. That means 70% of the blossoms are open. And again, it can last from several days up to a couple of weeks. Now, the earliest recorded peak bloom was actually March 15th, and that was back in 1990. That was a very, very warm winter, and everything got going super early. The latest was April 18th in 1958. And just as I mentioned, the earliest bloom started in 1990 following a very warm winter. The latest back there in 1958, that was due to prolonged cold weather. So it just took a while for those blossoms to come into bloom. If you want to see the blooms in D.C. for yourself, the Cherry Blossom Festival in D.C. runs through April 13th, so you do want to check that out. And if you don't feel like traveling all the way up to D.C., remember, Virginia Beach also has a Cherry Blossom Festival. It runs March 29th through April 5th at Red Wing Park. The festival features vendor markets, a garden tour, cultural performances, even martial arts demonstrations. So a lot of fun out there. You can expect extra traffic, though, on General Booth Boulevard near Oceana Boulevard while the festival is going on. Now, if you're going to be traveling up to D.C. this week, I want you to know you're going to see warm conditions on Saturday. On Sunday, a chance for showers late in the day. I think we could also see a few showers later around Richmond and Charlottesville. Things looking pretty good around the Outer Banks on Sunday, but we're going to see skies partly sunny. Off to the north, a little more cloud cover you can see around Richmond and Charlottesville, and maybe a few more clouds farther to the south. Our weekend here in Hampton Roads looks pretty good, and I'm going to have more on that coming up. All right, you take a look at the allergy report. We talked cherry blossoms. We're excited to have them. They're absolutely gorgeous, but it's a reminder, when those trees are blooming, other trees are also pollinating, and we've got it out there. Extreme pollen, juniper, birch, sycamore, low grass pollen. This is not a big deal, but, you know, we've had moderate to high levels for a while. And with the recent sunshine and the gusty winds yesterday, that stirred up the pollen. Now, the rain did temporarily knock it down a little bit. We've got more sunshine in the forecast today, and really for the next few days, I expect the tree pollen to be an issue for the next week or so anyway. And with all of that, we're going to start looking for pollen to accumulate. So across the region, you might see trace amounts showing up. I doubt we see a half an inch of pollen on the ground, but in some areas where wind blows some of the pollens, you can see a coating heavy enough to pick up, and you can actually, you know, kind of dust around the pollen. That's a heavy green coat of pollen you see on some of the cars. So this is going to go on for a while. We're just really getting into it. And it's one of those situations where you'll need to make more frequent trips to the car wash or get out the hose and take care of it around your house. It gets pretty heavy around here in Hampton Roads. It can be a little nasty. So just want to give you that heads up. All right, as we take a look out to the west, you can see with the radar, we've got some more rain showers well out to the west, West Virginia, Kentucky, into Ohio and parts of Indiana. A little bit of snow in the highest elevations, a little bit of snow back over portions of eastern Indiana, but around here, temperatures are looking pretty warm over the coming 10 days. You take a look, and we've got highs in the 60s, our chilliest days close to 60, and then back up into the mid-70s. So we're looking pretty warm over the coming week or so. And again, March is almost over. You start thinking April, we're like springtime, right? Well, you may think we're out of the woods when it comes to snowfall, but as meteorologist Evan Stewart explains, snow in April is rare, but it's not impossible to get it here in Hampton Roads.
Snowfall in April is an exceptionally rare event here in Hampton Roads, with measurable snow falling only 4 times since records began way back in 1891. Now, while winter storms are somewhat common in the region during colder winter months, accumulating snow in April is almost unheard of. As a matter of fact, according to the historical records from the National Weather Service, Norfolk has experienced measurable snow in April only 4 times. Back in 1940, we had 1.3 inches of snow on April 13th, and in 1964, 1.2 inches of snow. That came on April Fool's Day. April 11th, 1989, we had a ½ inch of snow, and you might remember April 7th, 2007. That was our first snow of the whole winter and spring season, and it occurred on the Saturday before Easter. We only picked up just a dusting, but that did lead to some snow-covered Easter egg hunts. Now, in addition to these occurrences, there have been 9 other times when we've had a trace of snow was observed, but that quickly melted without any accumulation.
All right, Evan, good to know that. Appreciate that discussion about late season snow. As I mentioned, we don't have any cold weather, nothing showing any signs of snow right now, but it could still happen even in April, as Evan just mentioned. All right, let's take a look at what is coming up. Mostly sunny and mild conditions. Yesterday, it was warm. Today, a little cooler. We'll call it mild, with temperatures back into the upper 60s. We'll take a look at the numbers from yesterday, and you can see 80 was the high officially. So normally we're at 63, our record high 86. Yesterday we picked up 1/100th of an inch of precipitation, and for the year we're a little bit below average. We were above average for quite a while, and finally it's been dry enough, despite that little bit of rain yesterday, we are now below average for the year. Out on the water, though, the things that we were looking at yesterday, the winds and the waves, they have settled down, and today it looks like a good day to be out on the water. Winds are going to be light from the west-southwest, 5 to 10 knots on the bay, and about the same on the ocean. A little bit more of a northwesterly component this morning, shifting to the southwest this afternoon. Note the water temperatures in the bay were now up into the 50s, so starting to trend up a little bit. High tide this morning was at 6:20. We've got a low tide 12:45 this afternoon. All right, as we take a look at the forecast, we'll pick up our future cast. And again, winds are light. Temperatures are going to warm up as we go past midday into the lower to mid 60s. And afternoon highs should reach the upper 60s across the area. We'll see maybe a few clouds off to the north, but generally it's going to be mostly sunny. Things are looking good. You'll note the rain, though, off to the northwest. That's going to start to come into play, and I do think we'll see a chance for showers later this evening. Until then, though, we're in pretty good shape as we take a look through 7 p.m. Still dry across Hampton Roads. I think the evening commute's going to be just fine. Later in the evening, though, chances for showers, and that'll continue late evening, kind of isolated to scattered. A little bit more widespread to the north, more hit and miss down to the south. That's going to push through, and after about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, it should be out of here. And by sunrise tomorrow, I expect the skies to clear pretty nicely. Temperatures will be cooler tomorrow with highs only in the upper 50s to near 60. That's it. Few showers slide by down to the south tomorrow night. And then as we look ahead to Thursday, another beautiful day with lots of sunshine, but it will be cooler again, upper 50s. Close to 60 degrees. Now, I wanted to put up our futurecast rainfall. This is the graph model, just an outlook at how much rain we could see this evening. A few hundredths of an inch, possibility, some trace amounts, Virginia Beach down through Elizabeth City. As you go farther north, I mentioned the rain was going to be a little more widespread or scattered off to the north and then more isolated down to the south. With that rain more widespread northward, Tappahannock, maybe 1/4 of an inch to say 1/3 of an inch, generally about 1/10 to 2/10 from Richmond to West Point over to Melfa. Not a tremendous amount of rain, but I do think the roads will be wet at some point late evening and then through about midnight or early in the morning hours. After that, things dry back out. Here's the forecast through the afternoon. Skies partly to mostly sunny. Again, temperatures right at the coast, a little cooler at 64, but inland areas, you can see Chesapeake to Suffolk, upper 60s to near 70. We'll see a high in Norfolk around 67, maybe 68 degrees. 69 in Franklin, up on the peninsula, 68 at Williamsburg, mid to upper 60s, Hampton and Newport News, also Gloucester, cooler at Matthews, Eastern Shore, temperatures low 60s, Chincoteague around 55. Down to the south, temperatures at the Outer Banks in the low 60s. We'll find upper 60s to low 70s from Elizabeth City to Hertford and Edenton. Overnight tonight, the temperatures are going to fall back into the upper 40s. Skies are going to be mostly cloudy. Showers again likely, especially off to the north. That's where the rain's going to be a little more widespread. And then as we go through the overnight, we'll see that stuff moving out with clearing towards sunrise tomorrow. As we go through the day tomorrow, the high should reach about 60, so a little bit cooler, decreasing clouds, clearing skies. I'm looking forward to our Wednesday and Thursday, about the same, upper 50s to near 60 on Thursday. After that, the temperatures start to warm back up. We're going to find temperatures near 69 on Friday, 74 on Saturday, and mid-70s on Sunday. Skies are going to be partly cloudy both Saturday and Sunday, maybe a few more clouds late Sunday, and then chances for showers and possibly some thunderstorms in the mix there on Monday as well. There is another front coming through on Monday, and behind that front, temperatures will fall again into Tuesday and Wednesday. So that one may be a little more interesting with a few more stronger storms in the mix. At this point, I'm not too worried about it, but it's certainly something we're going to be watching very closely over the coming days, and we'll let you know if that trends more towards those chances for storms or whether it looks like it's going to be more showers, of course, as we get closer to the weekend. So that's how the 7-day forecast is shaping up across Hampton Roads. Let me remind you, you can always connect with us on social media. You can find me on Facebook. When you search Craig Moeller, you'll find my professional page. Also on Instagram, Craig Moeller TV, and on X, formerly Twitter, at 13 Craig Moeller. Now, the best way to stay up to date on the forecast and be connected to our radar and all of our news coverage is by downloading the 13 News Now app. You can scan the QR code and download. You'll have instant access to our radars, our forecast updates, and any special coverage we have, any live coverage or live streaming we do, you'll get it pushed out to that mobile app. So it really is an awesome way to stay in touch when weather threatens, certainly here in the Mid-Atlantic. And when the stories are big around the country and around the world, we've got updates for you there from our news team as well. So it's a great way to stay connected. One other quick note here on the 13 News Now Plus app, where you're watching this right now. You might be seeing a rebroadcast of this on YouTube, but we're also doing this again live on the 13 News Now Plus app. If you like this content, this kind of thing, we're going to be doing a lot more. We have more and more plans to expand our weather content right here in the Plus app. Let your friends know about this. It's a little different way to find us. So some folks don't even know that it's out there. If they search on any of their streaming services, 13 News Now Plus, they'll find us and they'll have access to this content. Remember, I'm doing this every single morning, Monday through Friday around 9 o'clock. So hope to continue to see you in the future. Thanks so much for spending some time with me this morning. Enjoy today's weather, and I'll see you again next time.